to Robot Wars and a heat with a lot more experience than the previous 4. 6 veterans and 3 newcomers will be entering our arena to take the 5th open slot in the first series semifinals, and I think it's time that we get stuck into the action. So let's see who's getting scrapped this week. Heat 5, also looking to be a very promising heat, with seed number 25, Tornado, taking on newcomers Kilotron and veterans Mortis, who have never really done well, always crashing out in the Bronze Rumble. We also get to see the return of Punjar against the 2 newcomers, Peace and Riot, and the lobster-looking Mr. Cuddles. Oh, I love Cuddles. But first up, it's the first fight of the night against the Night Seeds, Dan Tomkia, taking on the other 2 veterans, Pressure and the Steel Avenger. Now, let's not waste any more time. Let's get the action cracking on and let carnage commence! Dan Tomkia, Flipper. A very strong CO2 flipper which made the semi-finals before driving themselves down the pit against Earthquake for some reason. The drive is quick and the weapon is very effective, which caused damage to Chaos 2 in the semis before flipping them out of the arena, but the ground clearance is a problem and the wheeling doesn't really help either. Pressure. They seemed impressive in the last Wars, but never really managed to live up to it. They did, however, earn the Sportsmanship Award by helping a lot of Roboteers in the pits with their pistons, which everyone appreciated. The wedge is very low and the claw is big and dangerous, almost as dangerous as razors, but it's a 2-wheel drive machine, and both its wheels are exposed. Redo that bit. But it's a 2-wheel drive machine, and both its wheels are exposed. The Steel Avenger. Spot. It may be shiny, but it didn't really do them a lot of good in the last Wars. The axe, though, had a fair level of effectiveness, not as much as its drive, which is still fairly quick, which is good with the ramming blade plate on the front. However, they've not returned with a Shremek, and there's a fair amount of ground clearance to be taken advantage of.
Roboteers, stand by.
Dan Tomkia with the CO2-powered flipper, Pressure with the crushing beak, who also reckon they're stronger than Razor, and the Steel Avenger with the big axe and very tough armor.
2, 1.
Quick drive too, that has to be said. All these machines in this battle are quick, although I think out of all of them, Pressure's the slowest. And the Steel Avenger might just be the fastest, although Pressure does have hold of the Steel Avenger and is applying pressure to them. Dan Tomkia trying to get in and flips the Steel Avenger up and out the arena! And that Steel Avenger gone in relatively quick fashion! And now, Dan Tomkia to do the same thing to Pressure, and out they go! And that's a very fast fight and a very fast victory for Dan Tomkia. Very easy, very quick, very effortless as well, as they blitz their way to the Gold Rumble. Very impressive as they enter the Gold, Pressure Silver, Steel Avenger Bronze. That's insane. Next up, Punjar, Peace and Riot, and Mr. Cuddles. Punjar. Rambot. Despite the experience from Battlebots they brought with them in the last Wars, they didn't really go very far. The front wedge is quite effective and the drive is very strong. The armor is also very tough too, being armored in steel, but the turn circle isn't great when turning on the spot, and there's no Shremek. Peace and Riot! Spinner! A low front wedge leading to a big lethal blade with a very strong drive. A very impressive looking newcomer that could seriously do well in this competition. Flipping it doesn't seem all that easy either, but the sides are the most vulnerable part of the machine, which is good if you have either a flipper or a spinner. Mr. Cuddles. Control Bot. Aw, what a cute little lobster. A lobster that loves cuddles. Who doesn't? Well, my parents for one. The front claws help control whoever's in their clutches and dump them down the pit. They're also capable of driving upside down. Apparently, I'd have thought the antenna would get in the way. Then again, not sure that even matters, as if one of the exposed wheels gets ripped off, then the next place the lobster's gonna end up will be in the big pot of water for dinner.
Robot ears, stand by.
Punjar, the BattleBot's competitor, back again with the front ramming plow. And the two newcomers, Peace and Riot, with the low wedge and the dangerous blade. And Mr. Cuddles, the lobster, with the grabbing claws.
3, 2, 1. Activate.
Not overly sure if they can drive both ways up. I don't think they can. But I wonder if they have a Shremek. Well, we probably won't see that. As Peace and Riot comes in on Mr. Cuddles and do throw them up, while I don't know what Punja's doing, trying to get in a good attack. There's not much you can do. Well, you can do that and throw Peace and Riot up and over. And meanwhile, Mr. Cuddles, there's the claws, and I think there is a self-righting mechanism on Mr. Cuddles, who goes flying into the air courtesy of Peace and Riot, as Punja rams into an angle grinder and now pushes into Peace and Riot up again, up and over, and now Peace and Riot back on the attack on Mr. Cuddles. Meanwhile, Punja wondering, how do I beat this bladed machine? Mr. Cuddles, they've not really gotten off the mark, have they? And they won't now! Out the arena. They're not coming back from that. And it'll be difficult to move anywhere if your wheels fall off, because you can see there's a wheel there in the corner. Right at the entry gate. You can see there's a wheel there, and it shows that Mr. Cuddles had no potential to move. And what's that that's come off? Is that off Punja? Well, it's off Punja. It's the only machine it could be off. But is that major? Well, we'll find out. It's Punja on the pit, and up goes. Off comes the back panel. But Peace and Riot, they are in the pit, and Punja thrown up and over. Look at this. And hilariously, it's Peace and Riot that got the pit open. Punja clips it, and then in comes Peace and Riot. Off comes the back panel, and then Peace and Riot descend with the pit down it. And that's the end of that. So to recap, Mr. Cuddles into the bronze rumble, Peace and Riot into the silver, and Punja, after repairs, into the gold rumble. And there, confirmation of the recap I just pulled off. And now for the third battle with Tornado, Kilotron, and Mortis. Tornado. Rambot. Back for a third series after a not-so-great run last time. They'll be hoping to do better this time around. The ramming power is effective. It shouldn't be taken away from them. Well, unless they lose one of their exposed wheels, that is. But they've actually said that this time they'll be using their interchangeable weaponry, which maybe they should have done in the last wars. And I wonder how that will affect the ground clearance at the rear. Kilotron! Axebot! You're just asking to get flipped over with all that ground clearance. The exposed wheels are also a problem if they encounter a spinning blade. The axe seems like it could be an effective weapon as it swings both ways with a fair amount of force, but the biggest issue the machine has is that the armor is made out of plastic wheelie bins. Yes, you heard me right, the armor is bloody plastic. Are you kidding me? Mortis! Flipper Axebot! They're back for a third wars with the silicon carbide armor, tracks, and custom everything. The Tanto Blade axe still as sharp and dangerous as ever, and the lifting arm still as strong too. The only real problem the team has is that this machine hasn't had any real great success, so while it is great seeing them back, not expecting a great deal from them.
Robot ears, stand by.
Tornado with the spinning disc. I thought you were going to use other weapons. Maybe later on in the fights. Kilotron with the double-sided pickaxe and the plastic armor. And Mortis with the lifting arm, the Tanto blade, and the silicon carbide coated armor.
3, 2, 1. Activate.
So, how will Kilotron stand up to these two titans in Robot Wars? We've seen both, well, I call them titans, Mortis and Tornado. They haven't exactly had the greatest track record. Tornado probably has a bit more success than Mortis, as they're currently pushing Mortis, who are still flailing their axe on Kilotron, who hasn't really done much, it has to be said. Tornado getting their blade in once again. The sparks fly. And now Kilotron in the air. And nearly nearly over. And again on the side. And now up and over. And not from an attack of a lifter, although they've been righted by the blade of Mortis. It is something wrong with Kilotron. They're not really doing anything. Not really getting into the battle, are they? It's more just, if anything, it's just Mortis and Tornado bullying them while also punching each other out. Here comes Tornado once again, pressurizing Kilotron. And now it's Mortis' turn, as Tornado gives chase to Mortis. And, well, I think what Kilotron may be trying to do is keep themselves out of trouble. That's what they're trying to do! Meanwhile, what's happened here to Mortis? Has one of their tracks gone, I wonder? Because they're not driving properly. I think one of their tracks is gone, you know. The lifting arm's gone up for reasons I don't quite understand. And you know, I think Mortis is in real trouble because unlike machines with wheels, Kilotron fell into the pit as it was descending courtesy of Tornado. Unlike wheels, you can't really drive outside your circumference if you're on tracks, which is how Mortis drive. Well, maybe it depends on the type of tracks you have, because they're able to get out of their circumference, but they're not really able to move. And you know what? This could count as an immobilization for Mortis. Kilotron, there's still life in them, and up and over. Rolled over onto the side. I think that's the first time Tornado's ever flipped a machine. Look at this. They come in for the charge, and then roly-poly goes Kilotron. Probably the perfect design to go roly-poly. Now, Tornado on the attack once again on Mortis. And you know what? This is interesting because Mortis, technically, yes, they can drive. A panel's gone! A panel is gone from Mortis. Tornado disposing of Kilotron. You can see there's a panel at the front sort of just caved in. As Tornado still pressurizing and attacking Mortis. And you know, this could be quite controversial probably. Or maybe not, because, well, it depends on what the judge... Well, that's the thing, because technically Mortis can still drive. One track is disabled, I think locked up, so it's hindered Mortis's drive. Kilotron is in the pits, so realistically you think they're into the Bronze Rumble, but that depends on whether or not... Be careful, Tornado. On whether or not that track left Mortis before Kilotron went And that will have to be decided by the judges. But for now, Tornado in the pit. Being pushed by Tornado again. And Tornado falls in to join Mortis and Kilotron. Well, that's great, isn't it? Everyone's in the pit, and I'm being relayed a message, and it's actually what I thought! The track of Mortis broke before Kilotron fell into the pit, and they had no real moving control. They've been deemed immobilized by the judges. Mortis once again crashed into the Bronze Rumble, with Kilotron scraping their way through to the Silver Rumble. So here are how our 3 Rumbles look. Dan Tomke with the flipper taking on the pushing power of both Punjar and Tornado in the Gold Rumble. The Silver Rumble has the crushing beak of Pressure taking on the spinning blade of Peace and Right and the axe of Kilotron. But first, the Bronze Rumble with the axe of the Steel Avenger taking on the clamping pincers of Mr. Cuddles, combined with the, once again, Bronze Rumble attendee, Mortis.
Roboteers, stand by.
The Steel Avenger with the axe. Mr. Cuddles with the clamping lobster claws. And Mortis back in the Bronze Rumble again with the lifting arm and the Tanto blade.
3, 2, 1. Activate.
Have they managed to fix that track? From the looks of it, yes! And over goes the Steel Avenger and Mr. Cuddles. Well, not much is happening from them, and Mr. Cuddles seems very stuck. Mortis is placed on top of them. Up goes their lifting arm. Again, went up last time, and back comes the Steel Avenger. And the Steel Avenger that comes slamming in on Mr. Cuddles. While Mortis just stands there now, coming in with their Tanto blade and getting trapped on those claws. But once again, just like their last fight, Mr. Cuddles isn't moving. And that is an alarming concern. And it's not very often we have problems like that on Robot Wars. In comes Steel Avenger again. Probably realized, yeah, Mortis, let's just leave Mr. Cuddles alone. They are clearly immobilized. Come fight me. Mortis, I think, wants to pick on the beaten machine. No real reason! But there's a good reason to get your axe jammed inside the Steel Avenger. And now letting the Tanto blade come down and down. And that weapon comes out at such force, and it's actually gotten itself stuck in the Steel Avenger. What's that on the floor over there? You can just see it just lying there by the floor flipper. And suddenly I'm noticing that the Steel Avenger hasn't fired their axe once. And I'm wondering if that's what that is. If it's the Steel Avenger's axe, I think it might be. And Mortis, ooh, nearly had the Steel Avenger down the pit of oblivion. It is! That's the Steel Avenger's axe! When did that come off? It must have come off very early in the fight. How did it come off? Did they not attach it properly or something? I don't know. Mortis, this is now a game of cat and mouse, basically. Might as well just turn over, ladies and gentlemen. Nothing entertaining happening. Well, depends on if you like cat and mouse games that are played by robots. Steel Avenger, Mortis, the Steel Avenger. You know, despite being weaponless, are still being aggressive. They're still coming back in, but not as aggressive as Mortis with the Tanto blade. Even though their lifting arm is upright, they're still being very powerful and are still being a force to be reckoned with. Mortis driving the Steel Avenger, crashing in. The Steel Avenger now against the wall, pushed away. Nearly, they're paying way too close to the pit of oblivion for my comfort, and probably for their own. The Steel Avenger needs to try and get away, and now Mortis has a great vantage point to get that blade in, and possibly do some major damage. What damage has that caused? I wonder. We may find out later on. Mortis still being careful, and if this goes to the judge's decision, they'll be marking on style, control, damage, and aggression. And you know what? Despite Mortis always ending up in the Bronze Rumble, this is their best yet, and they could very much find themselves going through to their first ever Death or Glory, albeit via judge's decision. But once again, that axe getting inside the Steel Avenger, and now throwing them over without the arm, and righting them. And now the Steel Avenger, well, they're in real trouble here. Being pushed towards the arena wall, and against the angle grinder with Mortis flailing it back on them. And is there a problem with the Steel Avenger? I'm thinking something's wrong. There's not much life. I think the batteries may have gone, so we probably won't even get the chance to go to a judges, as they're being counted out as immobilized. They very much are immobilized. Well done, Mortis. Finally through to their first ever in Rebel Wars history, Death or Glory. Well done, Mortis, going through to their first ever Death or Glory. Commiserations to the Steel Avenger, who put on a spectacular battle against Mortis, which they did in the last wars as well against 101 and Destructotron. But this is where the Steel Avenger crashes out, as well as Mr. Carlos, who broke very early on, unfortunately. Mortis is through. And now for the Silver Rumble, with the crushing beak of Pressure, the spinning blade of Peace and Riot, and the pickaxe and ground clearance of Killatron.
Roboteers, stand by.
Here we go then, the Silver Rumble. Pressure with the razor-like beak and the very low wedge. Peace and Riot with their very own low wedge and lethal blade. And Killatron with the pickaxe and the plastic armor and huge ground clearance.
3, 2, 1, activate.
Those factors have to be pointed in because, well, it will cause problems for them, as I said. And Peace and Riot taking advantage of that. I don't know what Pressure's doing, probably staying away, looking for a good way to come in, and something's come off the armor. I think the two main wheels, the two drive wheels of Killatron to come off. That's the fun thing. The drive wheels are actually the center wheels. And the two wheels, the front and the back, are actually for stabilization. Stabilization, is that a word, or am I just making crap up again? I don't know. I don't run a dictionary shop. I don't know. Anyway, back to the fight. Peace and Riot on the attack on Pressure. Killatron up and over and immobilized. Pressure's lost a tire on their left side. The left side wheel is now gone, and now Pressure to grapple hold of Peace and Riot. Not over sure what that's going to do. Well, we'll find out soon, won't we? Pressure. Pressure. There's not much going on here now, is it? It's kind of become a bit boring. Pressure's dropping their beak. Peace and Riot's not really doing anything. And I'm wondering if there's any life between them. Is everything okay? Well, with one tire gone, you can tell Pressure will have lost mobility. They're still able to move. Is Peace and Riot? Yes, Peace and Riot is still mobile. So that's good. No! And up goes pressure now! And that's going to cause problems as the blade comes in and knocks off an entire wheel. So that's the whole left side gone. And I think the right tires come off now. And a piece of armor as well. And Peace and Riot, just like Jade Emperor, are proven to be a lethal force as they push fresh into the angle grinder as rear armor panels have come off. And now they're both being counted out, which is rather weird. Who's won this one then? Who goes through if they're both... Well, it'd have to go to the judges, and I'm actually being relayed a message from the judges on style, control, damage, and aggression. Damage alone! They've gone for Peace and Riot. They progress through to the death or glories. Sayonara, pressure. There you have it. Confirmation. Pressure crashes out along with Kilotron. Peace and Riot joins Mortis in the death or glory. And truth be told, Peace and Riot relatively does deserve to be there. Truth be told, I think they deserve to be in the Gold Rumble. But hey, that's the way the cookie crumbles sometimes. But Peace and Riot definitely on their way to getting back where they should be. And now for the Gold Rumble with Dan Tomkia taking on the pushing power of both Punjar and Tornado.
Roboteers, stand by.
Dan Tomkia, C number 9 with the CO2 powered flipper. Punjar, the Battleboard's competitor with the front ramming plow, have to repair themselves from Peace and Riot's attack. And 25th Siege Tornado, now with the ramming scoop
3,
at the front.
2, 1. Activate.
So they have changed their weapon. They now have their little front scoop, which isn't doing them any favors as Punjar slams underneath the side of them. Can't lead them a little bit, but Punjar's countered that. And now Punjar, Dan Tomkia releasing the pit and throws Punjar up and over. So that's the end of Punjar, really. They have no soft-ride mechanism, and now Tornado up and over on Punjar, now on the wall. And now Dan Tomkia to throw Tornado up and over once again. How? Well, Tornado... well, Dan Tomkia, definitely dominant. Punjar's out the competition. They're immobilized. And Tornado's gone! Stepped out the arena! And there! Out goes Punjar! And throws themselves over! Dan Tomkia, you know! Seem on much stronger form this series as they spin around in the light, progressing through to another heat final, and well-deserved as well. Out goes Tornado, out goes Punjar, both out the arena. Dan Tomkia through to the heat final, and this is how the Death or Glory looks, with Mortis from the Bronze Rumble, Peace and Riot from the Silver Rumble, along with our two fallen Gold Rumble contenders, Punjar and Tornado. Which one of these four machines will go head-to-head against Dan Tomkia in the Heat Final?
Roboteers, stand by.
Very interesting for the Death or Glory, I think, this time around. Two veterans and two newbies to the Death or Glory. Those newbies being Mortis from the Bronze and Peace and Riot, the actual newcomers, from the Silver. Veterans being Punjar and Tornado, who were here in the Death or Glory back in Series 1.
2, 1. Activate.
So how will this go, I wonder? Well, there's Tornado slamming into Mortis. as Peace and Riot comes in, and now Tornado pinned against the wall by Punjar, and Punjar, oh, they've been deshelled! They've been completely ripped apart! Look at this! Tornado gets away from Punjar, in comes Mortis to do something, and then there! That's the moment the deshelling happens! And now Punjar! Well, whatever was left of Punjar is going out of the arena. There's the shell in the middle of the wall, the floor. Poor Punjar. Completely gone. Oh! A tire's come off of Tornado, but so is the front part of the wedge! The center part of the wedge is gone. Now a tire, another tire's gone, and now Mortis comes in to try and lift Peace and Riot up and over. And does so now, but they right themselves, and the blade's gone, the lifting arm's gone. Tornado stuck against the wall, counted out and immobilized. What can Mortis do? Now they can still axe away at Peace and Riot, who flings Tornado out the arena. So, once again, Tornado crashed out by going out the arena. Poor Tornado. Meanwhile, Peace and Riot and Mortis having a little tussle, but look at this! Mortis pushing away underneath Peace and Riot and throws them down the pit! Well done, Mortis! And it has to be said, this has been Mortis's best heat! Actually, their best series so far in their career, as now they have climbed through the Bronze Rumble, succeeded in the Death of Glory, and are now through to a Heat Final. Well done, Mortis. Through to the Heat Final. Out goes Peace and Riot. Couldn't get underneath Mortis and couldn't push back. Punjar obliterated and sent out, leaving only the shell. And Tornado lost their wheels, their wedge, and all their hope as they got flung out the arena as well. Mortis heads on through to the Heat Final to face off against the flipper of Dan Tomkia for a place in the series semi-finals. Will Mortis continue to cause surprises and go further, or will Dan Tomkia put an end to Mortis's run?
Robot ears, stand by.
The Heat Final. Dan Tomkia, the 9th seed with the CO2 flipper. And Mortis, the first time in the Heat Final, tracks, lifting arm, and the Tanto blade.
3, 2, 1. Activate.
Whatever happens here, Mortis should be very proud of themselves for reaching the Heat Final. Definitely done better this time round than they have in any other heat, flipped up and over, but Mortis can self-right. And now spinning the lights for the self-righting, and now Mortis on the attack on Dan Tomkia with the axe. Dan Tomkia, though, a lot faster, but as I said earlier on, they suffer from wheeling, which can prove to be a problem, can give Dan Tomkia a ground clearance, a serious ground clearance issue, and make that flipper of theirs practically worthless and useless. And now Dan Tomkia up and underneath Mortis again, not throwing him up this time. And you know what? Mortis are fighting vigorously here with that axe. They are fighting so vigorously. It's almost like they want this. They need this. They are fighting like their life depends on it. This is the best heat they have ever had, and I think they want this to be a banger. They're flipped up and over again by Dan Tomkia. Tried self-righting, no luck. As Dan Tomkia wheelies off them. And now Mortis self-rights once again, but thrown over by Dan Tomkia. And Dan Tomkia, a very strong flipper, throwing them up and over again as they self-right. And now Mortis trying to right themselves and do so! But are now on the edge of the pit. Oh, Delta Gear's gone! Down the pit they go! As is Mortis! Look at this though! There, the power flipped onto Mortis, and that threw them off came the track, on the edge of the pit, and then the drive here, and oh, then Top Gear, crash out! Mortis may be in the pit as well, but Mortis crashed last, they're through! What a shocking upset as the Night Siege crash out into the pit. Mortis heads on through to the series semifinals, and it makes you wonder if they can pull any more shocks going forward. We'll have to wait and see. But until then, take care, and I'll see you next time. Farewell.